Well, hello there, tankers of the Blitz universe. I'm Flossie, and today I will be doing I know I'm kind of late to the party, but a review on the Elephant. This is a Tier 8 tank destroyer collector that just got released a couple of days ago in the Turning the Tides event. So you can actually pick this tank up for free, and I will get into that a little bit later. So normally I would do a pretty quick intro and get right into the gameplay, but this will be a bit of a longer intro because I do want to compare it to tanks that it is similar to, like the Ferdinand and another premium tank destroyer like the Jagdtiger 8.8. So if you do actually just want to see the gameplay, then you can feel free to skip past this. But let's get straight on into the stats, and I'm actually going to be using none other than Blitz Stars to help me with the stats on this tank. So you can see here I have all three of these tanks lined up at the top here, and all three of them are using the same equipment and the same provisions. So in terms of this tank being comparable to something like the Jagdtiger 8.8, this tank is worse than the Jagdtiger. You can see here it has less DPM by about 100 and something-ish, but so it does have worse DPM. But then comparing it to a tank like the Ferdinand, it has a crap ton more DPM. You can see that there. The tank has 3,100 DPM compared to the Ferdinand's 2,500. So I would say this tank, and you'll see it later on, but a lot of the stats are just better than the Ferdinand, but worse than the Jagdtiger 8.8. Its penetration on the standard is 260, and comparing that to the Snowstorm and the Ferdinand, the Snowstorm has 247 and the Ferdinand has 258. So it does have the best standard pen, but only by a little bit. Moving on to the premium pen, this tank has 297 premium pen, and that's pretty good. I mean, it's similar to the other ones, but the Ferdinand definitely has the best premium pen at 327. So, I mean, not a huge difference there, but it is something to note. In terms of the rate of fire, this tank is kind of in the middle. It's a little bit worse than the Jagdtiger, but a lot better than the Ferdinand because obviously the Ferdinand has a lot less DPM. But the reason the Ferdinand has less DPM is because of its alpha damage. It deals 460 damage a shot compared to the 350 on the other two tanks. So if you do like a tank that has a lot more alpha, like a bit more of a punch to it, then the Ferdinand is the one that you probably want to play. And it really kind of scares off your opponents a little bit more than something that only deals 350 damage a shot. So there is that to note. And as for its aim time and dispersion, well, the aim time is 1.87 seconds, and it's pretty comparable to the other two. I mean, the Jagdtiger Snowstorm has a slightly better aim time, but you're not going to really notice that. And the dispersion of 0.308 is also comparable to that. And the only one that really has like better dispersion is the Snowstorm, but again, 0.308 to 0.29, you're not really going to notice it all that much. Now, in terms of the gun depression, both the Elephant and the Snowstorm have 7 degrees, whereas the Ferdinand has 8. So, I mean, if you're going to notice it a little bit, because 1 degree, it might not sound like that much of a difference, but it actually can make a difference on certain maps. As for the mobility, the Elephant goes 35 forward, and that's a little bit slower than the Snowstorm's 38, but it is faster than the Ferdinand by about 5. So it's kind of in the middle, and a lot of these stats, like all of these stats basically, the Elephant is sitting kind of in the middle. So it's not as good as the Snowstorm, but it is better than the Ferdinand. So honestly, it's pretty balanced in that sense. In terms of the armor, I would say it's also kind of in the middle. It's definitely worse than the Jagdtiger 8.8, but it's a little bit, I would say it's slightly better than the Ferdinand armor. But again, both the Ferdinand and the Elephant, you're not going to be getting that many bounces when it comes to this. Even if you're angled and using gun depression, its armor's still kind of crap. And the Snowstorm just outperforms both of those tanks by a lot in terms of its armor. Now that we're done talking about the tank's stats, let's break into the event. So how do you get this tank? Now, this tank can be obtained for free, which is actually quite nice. And normally, free tanks are pretty terrible, I would say. Like, for the most part, Wargaming gives out, like, free tier 7s, like, once a year or something. And they're usually quite awful. But this tank isn't that bad. I would say because it's free, I mean, try and grind out the event. In order to get the detonators, you do need to earn masteries. And you can see the requirements right here. To get a mastery in Ace Tanker, you will get 15 parts and you need, I believe, 10 to get a detonator. So if you do ace, and you are playing in tanks that are easy to ace, then you'll complete this event quite quickly because you only need 10 of these detonators to get the Elephant straight up. Now, I did get the Elephant straight up for 10, but then I've also been opening up the containers. The Elephant can be sold for over 3,000 gold, so if you do complete this event quite quickly, I really highly recommend you also keep grinding aces just to get the tank again, because then you can get basically free gold out of this event. And honestly, these crates are not bad. You get a lot of gold boosters, which is really nice. You get a couple of camos, and I was actually lucky enough to get the legendary camo for this tank, although it is only a, like, 2% drop chance. Same with the Elephant itself. If you were to try and get it out of these crates without getting all 20 charms, it's another 2%. But again, after you get 20 charms, you get the tank guaranteed from this crate as well. So you only need to get, like, double what you did for the first time you get this tank, and you can receive it. And there's also this really ugly looking avatar that's in the event as well. So that's about it for the tank stats. Now let's get into some gameplay. So this tank, it does play similar to the other two tanks. And basically what that means is, although the tank doesn't have a crazy amount of armor, you still don't exactly need to camp in it. You can sort of play it mid-line, kind of behind your heavy tanks, and use them as the HP, and sort of just farm off of them. Because this tank has a decent amount of DPM at like 3,200 with calibrated, you're going to be able to get out a lot of damage in this thing, and it's actually a pretty solid damage farmer for what it is. So we're on Rockfield for our first game, and luckily we are up against tier 7s, so we might actually be able to get a bounce or two. Against tier 9s, you are going to get buttered by absolutely everything, but against tier 7s, it's okay. The armor's okay. And I will say, this camouflage looks really nice. I like kind of the historical look, and I'm glad they gave this tank a historical camo. If they gave this tank like a flashy neon kind of camo, that would just be weird, especially for this historically somewhat accurate tank. So, yeah, I mean, it kind of... I saw a comment on one of Drool's videos that just made me laugh, that this tank is just a Ferdinand when it gets cold outside. So, yeah, you can think of it as that, which is just absolutely hilarious. But, yeah, right on in front of us, we have the HWK. And because this tank has a lot of DPM, I'm actually just going to full send him. Unfortunately, the T-44 makes me miss my shell by ramming into me a little bit, but it doesn't matter. This guy is already basically dead. And we do finish him off for 69 hit points. That's cool. Now we're going to keep on moving up towards these guys here. You can see it's nice having 7 degrees of gun depression, even on something like this kind of terrain. If you had any less than this, it would just be really annoying to work. And the penetration's pretty solid again, so you are able to cut through all tier 7s pretty much with AP. You don't really need to worry about loading premium shells. And you can see just like that, we're already at 1,200 damage. Now I do see the T-77 off to our side, so I'm going to aim a shot in at him, but it does miss. That's kind of sad. So the dispersion on this tank is okay, but it can obviously be troll at certain times because it's only 0.308. So yeah. But for the most part, this game's going well. We see the Tankenstein in front of us, and I'm going to snap a shell into his lower plate. Not too shabby. And we do have the Barask off to our side, who's destroying our Smasher at the moment. And unfortunately, I can't get a shell into him at the moment, but what I probably will do is back off, simply because I don't have much hit points anymore. And this tank only has 1,400 to begin with, so that T-77, who's probably going to show up again on our right-hand side, could easily just clip us out and completely destroy us. And you can see there, I made a smart move by backing up, and our Smasher took the first shell from him. So now I know he only has 1 shell left, and actually he gets a bounce, or we get a bounce from him, so that's even better. All that's left is the T-77 and the Barask. Now, since the Barask is a really fast tank, I am not going to bother wasting my time trying to chase him around. And the T-77, oh, is he running away? He's using his speed boost. I would be so scared of this tank too. Oh, yes. It's such a menace. Yeah. Honestly, this tank has about the armor profile of an Elephant, so I don't know why he's running away. He should just be clipping us out like this Barask is right now. But you can see our DPM is really nice, and we're able to get out the shells quite quickly into tanks like that Barask. And he's already dead. And just like that, we're already at almost 3,000 damage. Let's see if I can get 3,000 out. Unfortunate, I can't. So that was a pretty solid first game. We were able to, as I said, like kind of midline the tank. We weren't full YOLOing the thing into the front line and dying instantly, but we also weren't exactly camping like a normal TD. And that's sort of the playstyle of all three of these tanks, like comparing it to the Ferdinand and the Jagdtiger Snowstorm. All three of the tanks have a very similar playstyle. And that's kind of nice because if you have already played a tank like the Ferdinand, then it's going to be pretty easy for you to pick up the playstyle of the Elephant since it is so similar. Now, we're on Mayan Ruins for our second battle, and you can see that last game, I mean, the armor, we only really got one bounce, and even a tank like the HWK, I believe, that was in front of us, he didn't really have any trouble, like, penning us, and as I said in the first game, this tank has about the armor profile of an Elephant. It's really not good, and you can't really rely on it, which is why I say to play this kind of second line behind your heavies. Because, again, it's okay, but, like, really, that whole superstructure, you can just get like AP pens right into the front of it. It's not very difficult. Honestly, the lower plate section is also weak, and there's also that middle bar that's pretty flat as well. Think of it as like a Tiger P hull, so it's not really all that strong. And yeah, we're gonna make our way on over towards the right side here because I don't want to go alone, and I see that our whole team is actually going this way. So we'll see what we can do. Hello, VK. What are you looking at? Do you like the Elephant? Oh, yes, you do. Now, it looks like their team is going mid, which is kind of not great for us because normally I want our team to be going where that Chisei is, but unfortunately they decided not to. So we're going to be heading towards mid, where I can hopefully get some shells into this Forest Witch. Oh, yes, look at him. And I actually don't even... Oh, I was going to say I don't need my premium to pen him, but the Forest Witch has a very troll turret, so it seems like we bounced our first shell. And we bounced our second one. I mean, that was kind of my fault. I should have just loaded premium after learning... I didn't learn my lesson from my first shell, basically. But we're going to keep pushing on up. The Forest Witch is only at 6 health now, and he's, yeah, he's not doing too great. I will push up here, and this is a fairly good spot. I might get penned by this Tiger too, and actually he misses us, so that's pretty solid. Now, since I am in this position right here, I will hopefully be able to... Oh my gosh. Wow, my RNG against this Forest Witch is awful. I was hoping to just HE him. Luckily, he does get killed, but this position is not too bad because I can kind of angle my tank upwards to make the turret, or not turret, the superstructure a little bit more strong than it would have been on flat ground. So if you can actually like angle your tank upwards at all, then I do recommend you do that because your armor will become more effective. In that way, it's kind of like if you're angling an E100. And we do actually get 2 nice bounces from both of these players. And I'm going to put my adrenaline on for more DPM. And we get 2 more bounces. Now, normally, I'm going to say this tank will not be getting this many bounces. Because these are my first 2 games, we are in, like, pretty bad matchmaking. Like, kind of noob matchmaking-ish stuff. And also, people still, since the tank is new, people still haven't figured out fully how to pen it yet. Which is kind of surprising to me because the tank doesn't have much armor to begin with, but oh well. Just like that, we're already at 2,300 damage, and I'm going to make my way... Come on, bro. Move your tank. Let's go, VK. Don't need to stop moving when there's literally no one left on the enemy team. But, yeah. I'm just going to make my way over towards this T26E4 and get 1 pen into his lower plate. And what is he going to try and do? Absolutely nothing. Hello to whoever's saying my name on our team here. And all that's left is the E25. Look at this little cockroach making his way over towards our tank. And bonk, and he's dead. Just like that, 2 pretty solid games in a row. And yeah, you can see, like, the DPM is really nice. And comparing it to the Ferdinand, I don't think you would be able to do as much damage in a Ferdinand. Like, yes, you do have more alpha, but I honestly like having DPM over alpha in this case. And just like that, we did 3,100 damage for our second battle. So overall, final thoughts on this tank. Actually, let's see what I get from a crate first. Come on, give me something good. We got 2 gold boosters. But yeah, speaking about my final thoughts on this tank, The tank is really nice, and honestly, for a free event, like, I am giving props to Wargaming for this one. This tank in a free event is really solid, and if you do have the opportunity, like, play games, spam games if you have to, in tanks that less people will be playing, so it's easier for you to get this tank through the event for free, because I would not recommend paying 10,000 gold for this tank outright. Just don't do that. Grind the event and grind it till the end, and then on the last day, if you still do want the tank and you haven't gotten it yet, then see how much gold you'll need to spend at the end to get the last few parts for it. But anyways, if you out there enjoyed today's video and you are not subscribed yet, I highly recommend you do so. You can watch more of my videos almost daily, and you are supporting the channel at the same time. Anyways, I will see you next time. Bye-bye.